Well, hot diggity dog, we're live. What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV, coming to you live on a very important day when it comes to the forward motion of this great country of ours. I am, of course, talking about the NFL trade deadline, which is this afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern. The Packers have been linked pretty heavily to Will Fuller. Obviously, they will be making calls about a lot of guys today. We'll see if they actually pull the trigger. I still am not convinced that Brian makes a move, considering all the different factors, especially around the salary cap, the guys they have yet to pay. But you never know. I've been surprised before. Maybe today is one of those days. Hello to everybody in the comments. Good to see everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, even Twitter. I'll give you a shout out, Twitter. I don't care, even though you're always so mean to me. Morning, Nags. Pogs, what's up? Mark, good morning. How are you? If you could replace Patton with another member of the defensive staff, who would it be and why? Ooh, Duke. That's a tough one right out the gate there. I mean, obviously the answer that most people would give is probably Jerry Gray, the defensive backs coach who has coordination experience. I don't know. I'm really kind of fascinated to see how Patton approaches Thursday's game. If Kyle Shanahan can beat him up with a JV team, which is essentially what 49ers will be throwing out there. Although, well, that's not truly fair because obviously they do have much to go on along the offensive line, etc. But, I don't know. It could be Patton's Waterloo on Thursday. We'll see. Good morning, Terry. How are you? Luca, do you think the Packers are going to pick Fuller or J.J. Watt? It's not going to be J.J. Watt. You can put that right out of your head. They need J.J. Watt. Well, maybe they do, but he ain't coming to Green Bay. Good morning from Milwaukee. What's up, Gary? Good morning from New York City. Blake Martinez has been playing lights out football. Reminds me of Casey Hayward all over again. It's so funny to see people, Packers fans, all excited about Blake Martinez in New York. And Blake has been playing well, but he hasn't been playing much differently than he did in Green Bay. You saw lots of flowing to the football, tackles 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. You saw him get washed out on occasion on the edge, just like he did here in Green Bay. It's always grass is greener. I tell you what, I understand that Blake is playing well, and he is. Don't get me wrong. But again, he's not playing any differently than he did in Green Bay, no matter what anyone tries to tell you. And he's doing it for a hell of a lot more money. The Packers made a cost-value determination, and they didn't want to pay Blake $10 million plus. And they move forward. And that's fine. Oh, let's see what else we got. He's on the field at least. Now, there is a very good point. Availability is an important factor. And I love that stat they put up last night. He's played, 99% of the snaps or some nonsense like that, both last year and this year in Green Bay and New York. Pretty damn impressive. Packers had tackling practice yesterday. The tackling dummies won. Dan is here all week, ladies and gentlemen. They need a gritty vet on D. Doesn't have to be a big name. I mean, yeah, it would be nice. And it's a possibility. Maybe they trade for some defensive lineman out of nowhere that hasn't been linked to the Packers and may throw him in the rotation. I think I would contend they need to utilize their personnel on hand a little bit more. Montravius Adams was playing extremely well prior to Sunday's game, and he played all of, I think, 6 snaps. And there's no one thing. That's the other thing. It's not like anybody you bring in along the defensive line or at wide receiver is going to make this monster difference. They will certainly help and or augment the talent level, but that's not a silver bullet. Stanley, thanks for the super chat. I prefer Golden Tate than Will Fuller in trade. Stanley, I'll let Brian know. Golden Tate would be fine. I think it would be hilarious to watch some Packers fans, including my co-founder's head explode. But yeah, I think Golden Tate still got something to offer. No doubt about it. You saw that great catch he had last night. Can the NFL move the Packers game to Sunday? Good question. I doubt they would move it to Sunday. They would most likely move it to Monday if there are more positive tests. Now, I haven't heard anything. It sounds like the Packers went into Lambeau today to do their work, and they're proceeding, as Matt said yesterday in his availability, as though they're playing on Thursday. The only thing that would cause their game to move is if there was a further outbreak. got to say, not further because they haven't had really an outbreak. They've had one positive test. But if there were to be an outbreak at 1265 in some fashion, especially along, obviously, the players, then they would probably discuss moving the game. But, with no news this morning of any other additional positive tests, that's obviously good news. And they are in at work today and getting prepared to leave tomorrow and head over to the West Coast there and play that game on Thursday night. But if something were to happen, I would suspect they would probably try to move it to Monday and do the doubleheader again, as they did earlier in the season, to give the Packers time to, let the cycle take its course, so to speak. Can we really trust the Packers got LaFleur's birthday correct after the Tunyon debacle? Dude, hey, that's on Big Bob, man. He just didn't tell anybody. It's not on the Packers' fault. Do you know if Dylan was showing symptoms? Jill, from the reporting that I've read, no, he wasn't. But obviously, it's impossible for me or anyone outside the building to really say. But it doesn't sound like he was. What's the deal with Williams? I believe you're talking about Williams and Martin being designated close contacts to A.J. Dillon, which is why they have been placed. They have been asked to quarantine away from the team. They will not be participating in practice. And that doesn't mean they've tested positive. It just means that through the NFL's investigation, they have determined that those guys came into close contact. Most likely it probably happened in the facility somehow. They do have trackers that they wear throughout the building, the entirety of their time inside 1265. So I would suspect they looked at that data and that's how they came to that determination. Why does too high shell frustrate Rodgers so much? God, that's a great question. I was actually thinking about asking Aaron about that very thing today because, it's funny. Where you want to attack cover two and two shell is down the seam, right? And Rodgers has never been a big kind of down the seam guy. He used to, back in the day with Jermichael Finley, you saw him take that one deep shot to Adams. But for the most part, he generally shies away from it. He likes to attack on the edge, maybe some slants and stuff underneath. But it's just not his kind of cup of tea, so to speak. And if you can't get the running game going and force them out of that cover two shell, which is what we saw essentially play out on Sunday, they're going to stick with it. And Rodgers has got to make some of those throws. Now, he made some fantastic corner route throws when those used to be a real problem for him. Back like when Cobb was first a rookie and kind of those first, I want to say 4 or 5 years with Cobb, they used to try and James Jones and those guys, they used to run corner routes and all the time and he would have trouble hitting them. And those are great cover two beaters when you get behind this corner and in front of the safety. And he had a number of them. A great one to MVS. He had a great one to a couple to his right to Sternberger and Adams. Those are the throws you're going to have to make with regularity if you're going to start seeing a lot of cover two, which I think, it's a possibility given how much trouble they had pushing the ball down the field. The other thing is if they are going to play a two shell and that no matter what you do, and as far as running combo routes, flooding zones, what have you, at some point, you got to get to your short game and make them come to you, make them come up. It just seems it's funny because that McVay had that same problem in the Super Bowl. Like when you need to turn to your short game, you got to be able to just turn it on. And I don't know that the Packers can. They certainly don't seem to have it at the ready, so to speak. So I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to try and think of a way to ask Aaron about it without pissing him off. We'll see. My husband and I felt like the team may not have been playing hard on Sunday as to maybe force the hand of Goot to go after a free agent. Any thoughts, Wendy? No. Just, man, I could do a real long tirade about this, but no. Those guys are perhaps not up energy-wise comparative to how they have been other games. Maybe they're lacking a certain fire and brimstone, but I guarantee you, no lack of effort is due to them trying to force Gutekunst to make a trade. That I can absolutely 1 billion% guarantee you. Andrew, thanks for the super chat. Cobb, low draft pick, don't have to re-sign again. I mean, there's an outside possibility. Again, I'd be very surprised. Gutekunst obviously let him walk and then had a chance to sign him this offseason and didn't take it. So is there a chance? Yeah, but I would be very, very surprised. Is LaFleur too passive with his players? I don't know, Daniel. That's an interesting question. I mean, obviously, you'd have to ask the players. I can't point to any one instance where I would have thought that. I know last year he did a great job of having a finger on the pulse of his team as far as knowing when to push and when to pull and when to go hard and when to pull back on practice, etc. Yeah, I don't know. Too passive. I only guys in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, at the team meetings, they're pretty much the only ones who can really say with any certainty whether that's even close to remotely true. Sitting on the outside, I could only guess, but I would say no. But what do I know? I'm not in those meetings. Nicholas, thanks for the super chat. Having a Hall of Fame quarterback, why have a conservative defensive strategy allowing teams to control time of possession? Don't we have the talent to be aggressive? Nicholas, I think they do. It kills me watching. I was watching the Dolphins game because I wanted to watch Tua, but then when they're on defense, my goodness, man, there ain't no safety sitting 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. Just get up, man. Trust your dudes. I'm with you, Nicholas. It blows my mind. It kills me. It's taken years off my life watching these guys play 20 yards off. Do I think Lancaster or Lowry will be starting next year? Cameron, that's a really good question. I think Lowry probably saves himself simply because of his contract, though there's a chance they try to move on there. Lancaster, I very much doubt it. Sorry if you already covered this. When does the league have to decide on postponing the Thursday game? Corey, I don't think there is a dead set, drop dead time. I actually asked Matt that at the end of his presser yesterday if he had been given any kind of timeline as far as when the league would have to let him know by. And, from all indications he's gotten, they're going ahead. And if something changes, they'll obviously let people know. But right now, there is no deadline for it. I think that the NFL will keep its options open as long as possible. You mentioned on Sunday in gut reactions that Martin should be playing ahead of Barnes. I agree, but if so, who plays next to Martin? Well, whoever's healthy. Martin would be the guy with the radio helmet in this regard, not be coming off on third downs. That's essentially what I mean. I'm fine with Barnes is next to him on early downs, although probably Kirksey when he comes back, and even in some places, in some situations, probably Raven Green, which obviously wasn't a possibility on Sunday because Raven was inactive, but say they're at full strength, which never happens. But that's the kind of scenario I would envision playing out, and I think should play out. But we'll see. Martin was playing more. Obviously he's getting more and more snaps as the year goes on. I think it's probably only a matter of time before he takes over for Barnes, but we'll see. How about the Giants running down the middle against the Bucks? Interesting. Very interesting. Almost like that's where the weak spot is. Almost like their linebackers are really good sideline to sideline, but you can make some hay through the A-gap. Gosh, some really good-looking, witty, sometimes acerbic blogger should have pointed that out to Matt LaFleur prior to the Bucks game. Trading for Randall Cobb ideas are why the national media sucks, LOL. Hey, man, fans like it too. Come on now. Be nice. Nathan, thanks for the super chat. On average, I like playing dime a good amount of time throughout the season, but if your corners are as good as ours, you can load up the front seven. I agree. The problem is that Pettin did load up the front seven somewhat. On Sunday, he played a ton of base, ton of big bodies. I think, the Vikings just did a great job of blocking them up. And when there were guys there saying getting off blocks or arriving, I think it was really 50-50 on sometimes they made the tackle and they made a nice play, and sometimes they just either overran it or Cook went out the back door on a backside cut and just left them in the dust. It was disconcerting, to say the least. Raven Green is not that good. Thank you, Whitney. Thanks for joining the chat. All players have value. Raven is really good at what he does. Yes, he is going to be taken advantage of at times in coverage. We saw that in Houston, but we also saw a number of fantastic plays from Raven. I just go back and look at Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde was very similar to Raven in the sense that, like, early on, he was out of position sometimes. Sometimes he got beat. But as he progressed throughout the years, he became better and better. Raven's on that same path if he can just stay healthy. But people are way too dismissive. So Raven Green is not that good. At what? In relation to what? Way too dismissive. That 3-man rush on third down was incredibly suspect. Frank, don't get me started on the 3-man rush. Look, I understand you've got to mix it up, and I understand that 3-man rush is one of the tools in your tool belt, but when it's so fucking obvious when you're going to call it, I am literally sitting there in the watch parties going, okay, here comes a 3-man rush, because you always run it in certain situations, especially in the red zone. It's always called at the same types of down and distance, places on the field. It is driving me insane. Driving me insane. Nathan, thanks for the super chat. Savage at running back? Okay, relax. Let's not go there yet. Do you have any hope that the Packers can turn their running defense around this season? It's all relative, right? I think they'll be okay against lesser teams. We've seen that already. They held up against the Falcons, etc. But, a lot of that is going to be predicated on getting a lead from the offense. There are going to be teams, though, like the Vikings, probably the 49ers on Thursday. They're just going to strap it up and kick their ass. And it ain't going to be pretty to watch. So do I have hope? Not really. Packers had Fulham on the team, but they cut him. I'm glad you brought that up, New York Finest. Because obviously every time Fulham does something, and he does something every week, Twitter explodes with, the Packers had him in for 10 days, and then they cut him. Yeah. And now he is Philadelphia's Davante Adams. That's how low they have gotten as far as everyone who they had coming into camp has been injured and has been out. And that elevated Fulham into, they had to throw him out there. Now, obviously, he has delivered. There's no question about that, But this idea that the Packers, who had Davante Adams, Alan Lazard, EQ coming back, MVS, and then they kept Malik Taylor over Kumaro. They had a stable that they were really comfortable with. Fulham probably saw a handful of reps in those 10 days. Who knows how many actual practices he was even out there for, running with the 3s and 4s. They had a whole stable, and they were like, okay, yeah, no, thanks, buddy. It's not like these guys are out on the field getting reps with Aaron Rodgers, turning heads and going, oh, gosh, look at that amazing catch. We got to keep him. They're running drill work. It's it's tiring sometimes. It's just tiring. I mean, hell, Kurt Warner was in the Packers camp for a summer, and he got cut and went on to become Pro Football Hall of Famer. It happens, man. People come and go. It's transient. Cameron, thanks for the super chat. We cut Fulham for Taylor, and we don't use Taylor. They've used Taylor a little bit. Every time they do, he answers the bell. Maybe if the quarterback would throw him the ball more, maybe he'd have more of an opportunity. And that's the other thing. You think Aaron Rodgers is throwing 50-50 balls to Fulham like Carson Wentz? Get the fuck out of here. Give me a break. Joe, is Savage a major issue in this defense? Bad angles and missed tackles. Thoughts? Yes. I'm actually going to cover this a bit on Packer Transplants this week. I was pulling clips of Savage for the show last night. What you knew about Savage coming into this season was that he was pretty darn good in coverage last year and pretty darn awful when it came to taking angles to the ball carrier and making the tackle when he arrived. You would hope that throughout the offseason and then hope the start of the season when football actually began, that you would see development. Now, I'm willing to concede that without an off season where he's on the field and working on those angles, taking those steps, etc., and then having a very truncated camp where, there's no live hitting, etc. Yes, probably the development that you were hoping for was going to be delayed. But we are now into week 8, and we are still seeing some abysmal angles and some god-awful tackling from Savage, a guy they traded up for in the first round. Meanwhile, you've got guys who were taken in the second and third rounds around the league, making plays week after week, sticking tackles, at least being consistent when it comes to stopping the ball carrier as the last line of defense. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how they unlock this out of Savage, but right now it is hard to watch. And, I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but the more we go on here in the season and the more the poor angles and the bad tackling gets put on tape, it's hard to deny week after week. Hell, they went down to Houston without him, and you could barely tell. That should say something. So at some point, yeah, is it coaching? Maybe, but also at some point he's got to do it, because right now he's not. They had Funches too, yeah. Talking about the wide receiver group. They did, indeed. Christopher, thanks for the super chat. 50% serious question. Ooh, these are my favorite, the half-serious questions. What would happen if you asked a coach a sarcastic question? Do you think you guys could stop a bad high school offense? It would be greatly unappreciated, and I'm sure I would hear from Packers PR. And it also would depend on, you said a coach, so it would depend on the coach. I don't think LaFleur would appreciate it very much, but you never know. If I asked maybe Hackett, he's always kind of in a good mood on those calls, and we have a decent relationship. So I doubt it would be received well. It'd be fun to try at some point, maybe after they're coming off a win. See, and then we get things like this from Justin. Savage is trash. No, he's not. All players have value. All players have value. And right now, he is not playing up to his capability. He's not playing up to the standards that they want at that position. There's no question about it. But he is not trash. People, come on now. We lived through so much at the safety position. You can't even look at Savage and begin to tell me he's as bad as the MD Jennings of the world. Come on now. Be better. Let's see what else we got. I got time for like one or two more. Nicholas, thanks for the super chat. I'm afraid beating a depleted 49ers team will make us think we overcame our run defense issues until a playoff team hurts us. Nicholas, they're going to – what? The 49ers are going to run all over the Packers. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but they are going to run all over the Packers. Big Cheese, thanks for the super chat. I don't see Pettine staying around if they don't improve on this rush defense. I just can't see it. I'm with you, man. Definitely with you on that one. Make sure I didn't miss any more super chats. Lance Martin, thoughts? Just thoughts. I'll tell you what my thought is. I hope everyone goes to vote for whoever they want to vote for, and I hope the Packers make all your dreams come true at the trading deadline. How's that? Thoughts? I love it. He's no banjo. That's outstanding. All right, everybody. I'm going to have to get going. Programming note, Packer transplants. Not sure if it's happening today. It might be happening either today at 5 o'clock or tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So stay tuned to the Cheesehead TV social channels here on the YouTube channel. I'll let you guys know as soon as we know. In the meantime, please hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel so you can get alerts so you know when Packer transplants is happening. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope you all have a great day. Now, we'll be hearing from Rodgers and Coach a little later this afternoon. Looking forward to that. Check cheeseheadtv.com for all the latest. Thanks so much, everybody. Go Pack Go.